The call came at 7:43 a.m. on a Tuesday, right as I was reviewing quarterly reports for my wellness centers. I should have known something was wrong when I saw Mom flashing on my phone screen. She never called before noon. Paisley, honey, we need to talk. My name is Paisley Simpson, and I've learned that when my mother uses that particular tone, the one that sounds like she's delivering a terminal diagnosis, someone's about to get screwed. Usually me. What's wrong now? I set down my coffee and braced myself. It's about Lindsay. She's had another episode. Of course she had. My 31-year-old sister collected episodes like other people collected stamps. This would be, what, number 4? 5? I'd honestly lost count. She needs help, Paisley. Real help this time. Mom, we've been through this. No, listen. We found this amazing place. It's holistic, therapeutic, everything she needs. The Serenity Springs Wellness Center. Have you heard of it? My blood turned to ice. Serenity Springs wasn't just any wellness center. It was my wellness center, my flagship location, the crown jewel of the empire I'd built from nothing while my family was too busy cleaning up Lindsay's messes to notice. I I think I've heard of it, I managed. The intake fee is substantial, but we figured it out. We're going to use your house fund. The words hit me like a physical blow. My house fund. The $47,000 I've been saving for 3 years, living in a studio apartment, eating ramen, driving a car held together with duct tape and prayers. The money I'd trusted them to hold in their joint account because my credit union had lower interest rates. You're going to what? Paisley. She almost died this time. She was found unconscious in some stranger's apartment. We can't lose her. What about losing me? The words came out sharper than I intended. Honey, you're strong. You've always been strong. Lindsay is fragile. She needs consequences, Mom, not another $30,000 vacation disguised as treatment. It's not a vacation. This place is serious. They have strict rules, no contact with the outside world for the first week, intensive therapy sessions. It's exactly what she needs. I closed my eyes and saw myself at 16, watching my parents drain their savings for Lindsay's first rehab stint, while I worked double shifts at the grocery store to pay for my own school clothes. I saw myself at 22, taking out student loans because there was no college fund left after Lindsay's gap year in Europe turned into a 6-month bender. I saw myself at 25 starting my business with a maxed out credit card because every family resource had been funneled into the black hole of my sister's addiction. When does she start? I asked quietly. Tomorrow. We're driving her up tonight. Paisley, I know this is hard, but it's fine, Mom. Really? Really? I hope it helps her. And I meant it, because they had no idea they just delivered my sister directly into my hands. After I hung up, I sat in my office for a long time, staring out at the city skyline. My assistant knocked twice, but I didn't answer. I was too busy remembering. I remembered being 8 years old, watching my parents rush to the hospital because Lindsay had accidentally taken too many of Mom's sleeping pills. I remembered being 12, lying to my friends about why I couldn't go to the movies because we couldn't afford it, not after paying for Lindsay's therapy. I remembered being 19, coming home from my first semester of college to find my room converted into an art studio for Lindsay's recovery process. I remembered every time they called me strong, responsible, independent. Every time they'd said I didn't need help because I was so capable. Every time they'd chosen her fragility over my strength. Well, they were about to learn exactly how capable I really was. I picked up my phone and dialed Miles, my center manager. Miles, it's me. We're getting a new client tomorrow. High priority. I need you to pull her file and meet me in conference room A in 20 minutes. Sure thing. What's the client's name? Lindsay Simpson. And Miles? This one's personal. I hung up and allowed myself a smile. After 29 years of being the responsible one, the strong one, the one who didn't need anything, I was finally going to get what I needed: justice. I watched through the one-way glass as my parents' Volvo pulled into the circular drive. My father got out first, shoulders hunched like he was walking into a hurricane. Mom emerged next, clutching her purse like a shield. Then came Lindsay. Even from 3 stories up, she looked exactly like what she was: a 31-year-old woman who'd never faced a real consequence in her life. Designer jeans, perfectly styled hair, and that particular slouch that screamed, "This is happening to me, not because of me." "That's her?" Miles asked, joining me at the window. "That's her." "She looks entitled?" "Yeah, that's the family brand." I'd briefed Miles and Camila, my head therapist, on the situation. Well, most of it. They knew Lindsay was my sister. They knew my parents had stolen my house fund. They didn't know about the detailed revenge plan I'd been crafting since yesterday. "Remember," I told Miles as we headed downstairs, "I'm just another administrator today. No special treatment, no recognition." "Got it. And the intake process? By the book, every single rule." I'd changed into a generic business suit and pulled my hair back severely. With my glasses on and clipboard in hand, I looked like any other wellness center employee. Lindsay had always been too self-absorbed to pay attention to me anyway. The lobby doors opened and my family walked in. Mom immediately started gushing to the receptionist about the drive, the weather, how beautiful the facility was. Dad stood silent, hands in his pockets. Lindsay surveyed the space like she was rating a hotel. "This is nice," she announced. "Very zen. I was worried it would be all sterile and clinical." "Miss Simpson?" I stepped forward, clipboard ready. "I'm here to handle your intake process." Lindsay barely glanced at me. "Great. How long will this take? I'm exhausted from the drive." "About 2 hours. We'll need to go through your medical history, treatment goals, and facility orientation." 2 hours? Mom looked panicked. "We were hoping to get her settled and maybe grab dinner nearby." "I'm sorry, but family members aren't permitted past the lobby during intake. It's part of our therapeutic protocol." "But we drove 3 hours," Dad said quietly. "I understand, and I appreciate you bringing Miss Simpson here. However, our success rate is directly tied to our structured approach. No exceptions." Lindsay rolled her eyes. "It's fine. You guys can go. I'll call you tonight." "Actually," I consulted my clipboard, "all outside communication is restricted for the first 72 hours. It helps clients focus on their recovery without external distractions." 72 hours? Lindsay's voice pitched higher. "That's ridiculous. I need to check in with the work, my friends." "Your parents signed the intake agreement yesterday. All terms were clearly outlined." Mom stepped forward. "Maybe we could make an exception. Lindsay has some important—" "Mrs. Simpson, I understand your concern, but we found that exceptions undermine the entire therapeutic process. Would you prefer we compromise your daughter's recovery?" The guilt trip worked perfectly. Mom stepped back, properly chastened. "Lindsay, honey, it's only 3 days," she said. 3 days without my phone, without talking to anyone. This is insane. Miss Simpson," I kept my voice professionally neutral, "if you're not comfortable with our program requirements, you're free to seek treatment elsewhere. However, the intake fee is non-refundable." The magic words. $47,000. My $47,000 hanging in the balance. Lindsay's shoulders sagged. "Fine. Whatever. Let's just get this over with." I led her toward the intake wing while my parents lingered in the lobby. Through the glass doors, I could see Mom crying into Dad's shoulder. "Your parents seem worried," I commented as we walked. "They're always worried. It's their thing. Honestly, I don't know why they're making such a big deal about this. It's not like I'm dying or anything. What would you say brought you here? Bad luck, mostly. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong people. You know how it is. I knew exactly how it was. 29 years of watching Lindsay blame everyone and everything except herself. We reached the intake room where Camila was waiting. She stood as we entered, extending her hand. Lindsay, I'm Camila, your primary therapist. Welcome to Serenity Springs. Thanks. So when do I get to see my room? I requested one of the suites with the mountain view. Camilla and I exchanged glances. Actually, Camilla said gently, all our rooms are standard occupancy, no special accommodations. But my parents paid extra for intensive treatment, I interrupted, which includes shared living spaces to build community and accountability. Shared? You mean like a roommate? Exactly. You'll be paired with Stella, another client who arrived yesterday. Lindsay's face went through several expressions before settling on resigned annoyance. Fine, but I want to call my parents first. After the 72-hour period, Camilla said firmly, this is ridiculous. Do you know what my family paid for this place? I knew exactly what they'd paid, down to the last penny of my stolen dreams. Let's begin with your medical history, I said, pen poised over my clipboard. For the first time in my life, my sister was going to follow my rules. You're playing with fire, Camilla said, closing the door to my office behind her. I looked up from Lindsay's file where I'd been highlighting particularly damaging incidents from her intake interview. I'm providing therapeutic intervention. You're orchestrating revenge. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, accountability and consequences look pretty similar. Camilla sat across from my desk, her expression serious. I've been doing this for 12 years, Paisley. I've seen what happens when therapy becomes personal vendetta. And I've been living with this family for 29 years. I've seen what happens when there are no consequences at all. Tell me about the group session you want to add to her schedule. I slid the modified treatment plan across the desk. Anonymous sharing circle. Clients discuss their impact on family members without identifying themselves. Very therapeutic. And you'll be participating anonymously? As a concerned family member affected by addiction. Completely legitimate. Camila scanned the document. Davis is leading her individual sessions? He's our best at breaking through denial. I thought Lindsay could benefit from his direct approach. His approach that made 3 clients cry last month. His approach that got 3 clients to finally take responsibility for their actions. A knock interrupted us. Miles poked his head in. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. Lindsay's roommate situation. What about it? Stella's been smuggling contraband. Lindsay caught her and they had a screaming match in the hallway. Stella's claiming Lindsay was involved. Perfect. I'd been wondering how to separate Lindsay from her enabler friend. What kind of contraband? Camilla asked. Prescription pills, not hers, and a burner phone. Where's Lindsay now? Dining hall. She's telling anyone who'll listen that she's being framed. I stood up. I'll handle this. Paisley, Camilla started. I'll handle this professionally. The dining hall buzzed with tension when I walked in. Lindsay sat at a corner table, gesturing wildly to 2 other clients who looked uncomfortable with the attention. Completely insane that they'd believe her over me. I've been here 2 days and I'm already being accused of smuggling drugs. Do I look like someone who needs to smuggle anything? I approached their table. Ms. Simpson, could I speak with you privately? Finally, someone with authority. This whole situation is ridiculous. I led her to a quiet alcove near the windows. I understand there was an incident with your roommate? Incident? She's been popping pills since she got here and hiding them in my stuff. When I confronted her, she tried to blame me. It's textbook manipulation. That's a serious accusation. It's a serious situation. Look, I know I've made mistakes, but I'm not stupid. I wouldn't jeopardize my recovery by smuggling drugs into rehab. What would you say your biggest mistake has been? The question caught her off guard. What? You mentioned making mistakes. What's been the biggest one? She shifted uncomfortably. I don't know. Trusting the wrong people, I guess. Not the stealing? I never stole anything. The credit cards you maxed out in your parents' names? That was borrowing. I always intended to pay them back. The college fund you spent on your Europe trip? Her face flushed. How do you know about that? It's in your file. Your parents were very thorough about your history. That money was sitting there doing nothing. I was going to replace it. With what income? I had plans, business ideas, like the art studio they funded. That was a legitimate business venture. That lasted 3 months. The market wasn't ready for my vision. I made notes on my clipboard. What about your sister? What about her? How would you say your choices have affected her? Lindsay's expression hardened. Paisley's fine. She's always been fine. She's the responsible one, remember? The one who doesn't need help. But she's been helping your family financially for years. By choice. Nobody asked her to. Nobody asked her to pay for your mistakes either. Look, I don't know what kind of therapy this is supposed to be, but I don't appreciate being attacked. I came here to get better, not to be lectured about my family dynamics by some administrator. You're right. I apologize. Let's focus on your current situation. We'll be moving you to a single room while we investigate the contraband incident. Good. I don't want a room with someone who's actively using. And we'll be adding some additional therapy sessions to your schedule. Individual work with Davis, our senior therapist. Fine. When do I start? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. And when can I call my parents? It's been 2 days. After your first session with Davis, we want to make sure you're in the right headspace for family contact. She nodded, looking slightly mollified. One more thing, I said as she turned to leave. The anonymous group session tonight, 7 p.m. in the meditation room. It's optional but highly recommended. What kind of group session? Family impact sharing. Clients discuss how their addiction has affected their loved ones. Very healing. Sounds depressing. Sounds necessary. As she walked away, I felt a familiar tightness in my chest. The same feeling I'd had at 16 when I'd found out about the college fund. At 22 when they'd missed my graduation for Lindsay's crisis. At 25 when they'd forgotten my birthday because Lindsay was in the hospital again. Tonight, for the first time in my life, Lindsay was going to hear exactly how her choices had affected someone else. She just wouldn't know that someone was me. The anonymous group session was everything I'd hoped for and more. I sat in the circle wearing a baseball cap and hoodie, looking like any other family member attending the evening support group. Lindsay entered 5 minutes late, scanning the room with obvious reluctance. Welcome, everyone, Camila began. Tonight, we're focusing on impact statements, family members and clients sharing how addiction has affected their relationships. Remember, this is a safe space. No names, no judgment. A middle-aged man started talking about his son's gambling addiction. Then a woman shared about her husband's drinking. When it was my turn, I kept my voice steady and low. My sister has been in and out of treatment 4 times. Each time my parents drained their savings, take out loans, sacrifice everything to fund her recovery. Meanwhile, I've been working since I was 14 to support myself. Lindsay shifted in her seat but didn't look up. Last week they took my house down payment to pay for this place. $47,000 I'd saved for 3 years. They didn't ask. They just took it. How did that make you feel? Camila prompted gently. invisible. Like my dreams don't matter because I'm not the one falling apart. Like being responsible is a punishment instead of a virtue. Across the circle, Lindsay's head snapped up. For a split second, our eyes met, but the cap shadowed my face enough that she looked away without recognition. I love my sister, I continued, but I hate what she's done to our family. I hate that her chaos always comes first. I hate that I'm expected to be strong while she's allowed to be broken. Lindsay stood abruptly. I need some air. She rushed out, leaving the circle in awkward silence. Should someone go after her? Asked another client. She'll be fine, Camilla said. Sometimes the truth is hard to hear. After the session, I found Camilla in her office. That was intense, she said without looking up from her notes. It was honest. It was calculated. You knew exactly what buttons to push. I shared my experience. Isn't that what therapy is about? Camilla finally met my eyes. What's your end game here, Paisley? What happens when you thoroughly destroyed your sister's sense of self? Maybe she'll finally understand what she's put everyone through. Or maybe she'll relapse harder than ever. Shame isn't a sustainable motivator for recovery. Before I could respond, Miles burst in. We have a problem. Stella's been removed from the program. What happened? She was caught with a full pharmacy in her room. Pills, edibles, even some powder were having tested. But here's the thing. She's claiming Lindsay was her supplier. That's ridiculous, I said immediately. Is it? Because Stella's story is pretty detailed. She says Lindsay had connections from her previous stays at other facilities. Says they had a whole network set up. Camilla frowned. What's Lindsay saying? She's not saying anything. She's locked herself in her room and won't come out. And the parents? Miles grimaced. That's the other problem. They've been calling nonstop since Stella's family contacted them. Apparently, Stella told her parents that this place is abusive and targeting vulnerable clients. My phone buzzed. Mom's number. I have to take this. Paisley? Mom's voice was strained. We need to talk about what's happening at that place. What do you mean? Lindsay's roommate called her parents claiming the staff is harassing clients, making false accusations. They're saying Lindsay is being singled out. Mom, I'm sure there's an explanation. We want her moved to a different facility. This isn't working. You can't move her. You signed a contract. We'll forfeit the money if we have to. This place sounds toxic. The irony wasn't lost on me. They were willing to throw away my house fund twice, once to put Lindsay here and again to remove her. Let me make some calls, I said. See what I can find out. Thank you, honey. I know this is hard for you too, losing your savings for this, but family comes first, right? After I hung up, Camilla was staring at me. Your parents want to pull her out. They're scared. Stella's family is spreading rumors, and you're going to convince them to keep her here. I'm going to find out what really happened with Stella. Miles cleared his throat. There's something else? I did some digging on Stella's background. She's been kicked out of 3 facilities in the past 2 years. Always the same pattern, smuggling contraband, then claiming persecution when she gets caught. So Lindsay's innocent? Of the smuggling, yeah, but Paisley. Miles hesitated. Stella mentioned something else. She said Lindsay told her about a sister who thinks she's better than everyone and deserves whatever's coming to her. The words hit like a physical blow. She said that? According to Stella. And there's more. She said Lindsay bragged about manipulating your parents into using your college fund years ago. Said it was easier than expected because they always choose the broken bird over the strong one. Camilla leaned forward. Paisley, are you okay? I wasn't okay. I was furious. All these years I'd assumed Lindsay was just selfish and thoughtless. I'd never considered that her destruction of my life might be intentional. Schedule her session with Davis for tomorrow morning, I said quietly. What are you planning? Nothing, just therapy. Intensive, thorough, accountability-focused therapy. Paisley? She wants to play games? Fine, but she's going to play by my rules now. I was reviewing Davis's session notes when Miles knocked on my office door. You have a visitor. Says he's here about the investment proposal. I looked up confused. We're not expecting any investors today. That's what I told him, but he mentioned your name specifically. Says you know him. Theo something? My blood turned to ice. Theo, my ex-boyfriend from college, the one who'd walked away when my family drama became too much for him to handle. Send him up. 5 minutes later, Theo walked into my office looking exactly like he had 3 years ago. Tall, confident, wearing that easy smile that used to make me forget all my problems. Hello, Paisley. What are you doing here? I'm working with Morrison Capital now. They're considering an investment in wellness centers. He gestured around my office. Imagine my surprise when I realized this was your place. How did you find out? I saw you yesterday in the lobby talking to that blonde woman and her parents. You look different, professional, but definitely you. I closed the file I'd been reading. What do you want, Theo? To talk. Maybe catch up. It's been a long time. 3 years? Not that long. Long enough for you to build all this? He looked around appreciatively. I always knew you'd be successful. You were the most driven person I ever met. Driven? Right. That's what you called it when you broke up with me. His smile faltered. That's not fair. Isn't it? You said my family was too much drama, and you needed someone who could be present in the relationship. Your sister was in crisis every other week. You were constantly running off to handle some emergency because no one else would. I know, and I was young and selfish. I didn't understand what you were dealing with. And now you do? Now I understand that you were protecting everyone around you, even when it cost you everything. Before I could respond, my phone rang, Davis's extension. Excuse me, I told Theo, then answered. How did it go? She's broken, Davis said quietly. I've never seen someone crack that fast. She's asking for her parents. What did she tell you? Everything. The college fund, the credit cards, the lies. But Paisley, there's something else. Something she's never told anyone. What? I think you need to hear this yourself. Can you come down? I hung up and looked at Theo. I have to go. Work emergency. Family emergency. Same thing, really. Mind if I wait? I'd like to finish our conversation. I hesitated. Fine, but don't touch anything. Davis met me outside the therapy room. She's been crying for 20 minutes. I pushed her on the financial stuff and she just collapsed. Good. That's what we wanted. Paisley, she told me about a car accident when she was 17. She was driving drunk, hit another car. A family was hurt. I don't remember any accident. Because your parents covered it up, paid the family's medical bills, legal fees, everything. That's where your college fund really went. The hallway seemed to tilt. What? She's been carrying this guilt for 14 years. The addiction, the acting out. It all started after the accident. But she told Stella she manipulated them into using my money. She was trying to sound tough. The truth is she's been drowning in shame since she was a teenager, and your parents enabled it by protecting her from consequences. Through the one-way glass, I could see Lindsay curled up in the chair, tissues scattered around her feet. She wants to call your parents, Davis continued. She says she's ready to tell them everything. Everything? The accident, the cover-up, how the guilt has been eating her alive. She wants to make amends. I stared at my sister through the glass. For the first time in years, she looked small, vulnerable, actually broken instead of just acting broken. Set up the call, I said quietly. Are you sure? Once she tells them about the accident, set up the call. Conference room B. I want to observe. 20 minutes later, I sat behind another one-way mirror as Lindsay dialed our parents. Davis sat beside her for support. Mom, it's me. Lindsay, honey, how are you? We've been so worried. Mom, I need to tell you something about the accident. The real reason you used Paisley's college money. Silence on the other end. What accident, sweetheart? The one when I was 17, when I hit that family on Route 9, when you paid them off to keep me out of jail. Lindsay, what are you talking about? The Hendersons, the little girl who was in the hospital for 3 months. You used Paisley's college fund to pay their medical bills. Honey, I think you're confused. There was no accident. We used that money for your art program in Europe, remember? Lindsay's face went white. What? Your gap year. You said you needed to find yourself artistically. We thought it would help you mature. But the accident, the family. There was no accident, Lindsay. You've never been in any serious trouble with the law. Davis and I exchanged glances. Lindsay was staring at the phone like it had grown fangs. Mom, I remember the accident. I remember you and Dad crying, talking about lawyers. Sweetheart, I think the stress of treatment is affecting your memory. Maybe we should come get you. No! Lindsay's voice cracked. I remember. I killed someone. You didn't kill anyone, honey. You've never hurt anyone but yourself. The call ended with Mom promising to drive up immediately. Lindsay sat in stunned silence. False memory, Davis said quietly. Guilt and shame can create incredibly vivid false memories. She's been punishing herself for something that never happened. I watched my sister fall apart and felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. My parents arrived 3 hours later looking like they'd aged a decade during the drive. I met them in the lobby, still playing my role as the concerned administrator. How is she? Mom asked immediately. Confused, distressed. She's been having some breakthrough moments in therapy, but they're intense. We want to see her, Dad said firmly. This has gone on long enough. Of course. We've arranged a family session. Our head therapist will facilitate. I led them to conference room A, where Camilla was already waiting with Lindsay. My sister looked fragile, her eyes red-rimmed and hollow. Mom, Dad, Lindsay stood shakily. I'm so sorry about everything. Mom rushed to embrace her. Well, it's okay, baby. We're here now. Please, everyone sit. Camilla gestured to the circle of chairs. We have a lot to discuss. I took a seat slightly behind my parents, clipboard ready, still maintaining my administrator facade. Lindsay has made some significant breakthroughs, Camilla began. She's ready to discuss how her addiction has affected your family. I stole from you, Lindsay said quietly. Over and over. I lied, I manipulated, I took advantage of your love. Honey, we know, Mom said. We've always known. But you never stopped me. We couldn't. You're our daughter. What about your other daughter? The words came out before I could stop them. Everyone turned to look at me. Camilla's eyes widened in warning. I'm sorry, I said quickly. I shouldn't have spoken. It's just, in cases like this, siblings are often affected too. Paisley's strong, Dad said automatically. She's always been able to handle things. Has she? Camilla asked gently. Lindsay, how do you think your choices have affected your sister? Lindsay was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. We don't really talk. Why not? Because she hates me, and she has every right to. I don't hate you, I said, then caught myself. I mean, from what I understand, sibling relationships in these situations are complex. Mom looked at me strangely. You seem very invested in this family's dynamics. My heart pounded. It's just, I have a sister too, similar situation. Lindsay, Camilla redirected, tell your parents about the college fund. You used my money for her Europe trip, I said, the words tumbling out. $47,000 I'd saved since I was 14. You didn't ask, you just took it. The room went dead silent. What did you just say? Dad asked slowly. I stood up, my hands shaking. You took my house money, just like you took my college money, just like you've taken everything I've ever worked for to fund her disasters. Who are you? Mom whispered. I pulled off my glasses, let my hair down. I'm your other daughter, the one you forgot about. Lindsay's face went white. Paisley? Surprise. You own this place, Dad said, realization dawning. I own this place. I built this business from nothing while you were busy enabling her addiction, and when you stole my house fund to bring her here, you delivered her right into my hands. Oh my God, Mom breathed. What have you done? I gave her exactly what she needed, accountability, consequences, the truth. You manipulated us, Lindsay said, her voice rising. You've been playing games with my recovery. I've been giving you real therapy, more real than anything you've ever experienced. This is sick, Mom stood up. Using your sister's addiction for revenge. Using my money for her addiction was sick too, but that didn't stop you. We were trying to save her life. What about saving mine? What about the life I could have had if you'd invested even half as much in me as you did in her? Dad looked broken. Paisley, we didn't know. You didn't want to know. It was easier to let me be the strong one, the responsible one, the one who didn't need anything. I never asked for this, Lindsay said quietly. Yes, you did. Every time you called them crying, every time you played the victim, every time you let them choose you over me. I was sick. You were selfish. There's a difference. Camilla stood up. Everyone needs to take a breath. No, I said. We're done taking breaths. We're done pretending this is normal. You want to know what your precious daughter told her roommate? That I deserve whatever's coming to me. That manipulating you was easier than expected. Lindsay's face crumpled. I didn't mean. You meant every word, just like you meant to destroy my college fund, just like you meant to take my house money. The college fund was for Europe, Mom said weakly. The college fund was mine. The house money was mine. My dreams, my future, my life. You gave it all to her. We thought we were helping. You were helping. You were helping her avoid consequences while I paid for all of them. I walked to my briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. You want to see what your help bought? Here's 14 years of receipts. Rehab bills, legal fees, credit card debt, medical expenses. All paid for with money that should have gone to my education, my future, my life. I spread the papers across the table. $68,000 in rehab costs, $43,000 in legal fees, $37,000 in credit card debt you paid off, $22,000 in medical bills. Stop, Dad whispered. $170,000? That's what you spent on her addiction? Know what you spent on me? Nothing, not one dime. We didn't know you needed. I needed parents. I needed support. I needed someone to believe in me instead of just expecting me to be strong enough to handle everyone else's problems. Lindsay was crying now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 14 years of my life. What do you want from us? Mom asked. I looked around the room at my broken family. I want you to stay, all of you. I want you to do the work, real work. Family therapy, individual therapy, accountability sessions. I want you to face what you've done to each other and to me. And if we refuse, Dad asked, then you can leave, but you'll leave alone, because Lindsay's staying here until she's actually recovered, Not just until you're tired of dealing with her problems. You can't keep me here against my will, Lindsay said. I can't, but I can make sure you understand exactly what leaving will cost you and them. I turned to my parents. Your choice. Face the truth or lose both your daughters. They stayed. 2 weeks later, we sat in the same conference room for what Camila called our final family session. But I knew it was really my final performance. Let's start with accountability, Camila said. Each person will share how their actions have affected this family. Dad went first. I was a coward. I let Bethany make all the hard decisions about the girls because I was afraid of conflict. I told myself I was keeping the peace, but really, I was just avoiding responsibility. Mom twisted her hands in her lap. I enabled Lindsay because I was terrified of losing her. Every time she threatened to hurt herself or disappear, I gave in. I told myself I was protecting her, but I was really protecting myself from the guilt of letting her fail. And Paisley? Camilla prompted. I failed Paisley completely. Mom's voice broke. I took her strength for granted. I assumed she didn't need me because she never asked for help. I was wrong. Lindsay looked up from her tissue box. I knew exactly what I was doing. Every crisis, every emergency call, every time I played the victim, I knew they'd choose me over Paisley. I told myself I deserved it because I was sicker, but really I was just selfish. And now? Camila asked. Now I know I destroyed my sister's life because I was too weak to face my own problems. All eyes turned to me. This was my moment, the climax I've been building toward for weeks. I orchestrated all of this, I said quietly. I manipulated the therapy process, violated professional ethics, and used my sister's addiction as a weapon for revenge. Paisley? Mom started. No, let me finish. I told myself this was about justice, about accountability, but really I wanted to hurt you the way you'd hurt me. I wanted you to feel powerless and ignored and forgotten. Did it work? Dad asked quietly. I looked around the room at their broken faces. Yes, and it feels exactly as empty as I thought it would. Camila leaned forward. What do you want now, Paisley? I want to make you an offer, Lindsay. My sister looked up, wary. Stay here and complete the program. Not as a patient, but as a staff member. Work in the kitchen, help with maintenance, assist with intake, minimum wage, shared housing, no special treatment. Why would I do that? Because it's the first real job you've ever been offered, because you'll learn what it means to earn something instead of having it given to you, because you'll see what recovery actually looks like when you're helping other people instead of just helping yourself. And if I say no, then you leave, but you leave with nothing. No more family money, no more bailouts, no more safety net. You'll be completely on your own for the first time in your life. Lindsay was quiet for a long moment. What about them? She nodded toward our parents. They're going to learn how to be parents instead of enablers. Weekly therapy sessions here for the next 6 months. They're going to figure out how to support recovery without funding addiction. And you? Mom asked. I'm going to step back from the business, from this family, from trying to fix everyone else's problems. What does that mean? Dad asked. It means I'm selling my share of the wellness centers. It means I'm moving across the country. It means I'm finally going to live my own life instead of cleaning up after yours. The room erupted. You can't just leave, Mom said. You can't abandon the business, Miles said from the doorway. I hadn't heard him come in. You can't run away from this, Lindsay added. Watch me. I stood up and walked to the window. I've spent 29 years being the responsible one, the strong one, the one who holds everything together. I'm done. But we need you, Mom pleaded. No, you need to learn how to function without me. You need to learn how to support each other instead of expecting me to support all of you. This is revenge too, Camilla said quietly. Just a different kind. Maybe, but it's also self-preservation. I turned back to face them. Lindsay, what's your answer? Stay and work or leave and figure it out on your own? She looked at our parents, then back at me. If I stay, do I get a chance to make things right with you? You get a chance to make things right with yourself. What happens between us after that is up to both of us. And if I mess up, then you're fired, just like any other employee. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll stay. Good. I picked up my purse. Miles will handle the employment paperwork. Camila will coordinate the family therapy schedule. I'll be in touch about the business transition. Where are you going? Dad asked. Home, to pack. Paisley, please. Mom stood up. Don't do this. We can work through this as a family. I paused at the door. We're not a family. We're a collection of people who share DNA and a history of dysfunction. Maybe someday we can be more than that, but not today. So, that's it? Lindsay asked. You get your revenge and then you disappear? That's it. What if I actually get better? What if I actually change? Then you'll have something to be proud of, something that's actually yours. I walked out of the conference room and didn't look back. For the first time in my life, I was choosing myself. It felt terrifying and liberating and absolutely right. The moving truck pulled away from my new apartment in Portland just as my phone rang. I almost didn't answer when I saw it was Miles. Before you hang up, he said quickly, you need to hear this. Miles, I told you. Lindsay's been working here for 8 months. 8 months, Paisley. No drama, no crisis calls, no special treatment. I set down the box I was carrying. Good for her. She's been promoted to intake coordinator. She's actually good at it. Clients trust her because she's been where they are. Why are you telling me this? Because she's outside your building right now. I walked to my window and looked down at the street. There she was, sitting on the steps of my apartment complex, looking nervous and small. How did she get my address? I may have mentioned Portland. She may have done some detective work. Miles, just talk to her. 5 minutes. I hung up and stared down at my sister. She looked different, thinner but in a healthy way. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she was wearing jeans and a plain sweater instead of her usual designer clothes. Against my better judgment, I went downstairs. Hi, she said when she saw me. Hi. Nice place, very Portland. What do you want, Lindsay? She held up an envelope. I wanted to give you this. I took it but didn't open it. What is it? My first 8 paychecks, minus rent and food. It's not much, but it's a start. I looked inside. $1,200 in cash. I can't take this. It's not charity. It's payment on a debt that's going to take me the rest of my life to pay off. Lindsay, I know you don't want to hear this, but I need to say it. I remember everything now. Not false memories, real ones. I remember being 7 and breaking your art project, then letting you get in trouble for it. I remember being 12 and telling Mom you were the one who stole money from her purse. I remember being 16 and convincing Dad that you were lying about needing money for college applications. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that I know. I wasn't just selfish or sick or confused. I was cruel, deliberately cruel, and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. No, it doesn't. But maybe this will. She pulled out another envelope, thicker this time. What's that? A business proposal. I want to buy your share of the wellness centers. I stared at her. With what money? I don't have it yet, but I will. I'm going to work for it, save for it, earn it. It might take 10 years, but I'll get there. That's ridiculous. Is it? You built those centers from nothing. If you can do it, maybe I can too. You don't know anything about running a business. I'm learning. Camila's been teaching me about therapy protocols. Miles is showing me the financial side. I'm taking business classes online. I looked at the proposal. It was handwritten but thorough. Market analysis, payment plans, projected timelines. Why? Because those centers are your legacy and I destroyed your chance to enjoy them. Because you deserve to be bought out properly, not forced out by family drama. Because I want to prove that I can build something instead of just tearing things down. And if you fail, then I fail. But at least I'll fail trying to do something right for once. A couple walked past us, arguing loudly about rent money. Lindsay and I both turned to watch them. We used to be them, she said quietly. We were worse. Yeah, we were. I folded the proposal and put it in my pocket. I'll think about it. Really? Really. But Lindsay, if you're serious about this, you need to understand something. I won't be your safety net. I won't bail you out if you mess up. I won't even be your sister if you screw this up. I know. Do you? Because this is your last chance. Not with the business, not with mom and dad, but with me. If you relapse, if you steal, if you manipulate anyone ever again, I'm done. Forever. I understand. Good. I started to walk back toward my building, then stopped. Lindsay? Yeah? The money in the envelope. Keep it. Consider it your first business investment. Her face lit up. Paisley, don't thank me. Just don't screw it up. I climbed the steps to my apartment and didn't look back, but I could hear her crying on the sidewalk, and for the first time in 29 years, they sounded like tears of hope instead of manipulation. My phone buzzed with a text from Theo. Dinner tomorrow? I'm in town for work. I looked around my half-unpacked apartment at the life I was finally building for myself and typed back, yes. For once, I wasn't the strong one cleaning up everyone else's mess. I was just Paisley starting over, and that felt like enough.